32 minutes, 21 seconds. 5-second tone followed by a 1-second pause.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Okay, gang, let's go.
From the space city called Houston, Texas, welcome to Spaceboy Universe, featuring Spaceboy and the lovely Surlana. So strap in and prepare for launch sequence. And remember, it's Spaceboy's Universe, and you're in it.
Howdy everyone, it's another exciting edition of Spaceboy Universe. It is March 12th, 2016. We're on show number 025, and I'm excited about tonight because tonight we have Gordon Rupe talking to JFK and his new book, Web of Pawns. Man, I can't wait to get into that tonight. Hey, so if you want to follow us, Twitter is the way to go. At the Universe, that's at the SB Universe. Hashtag us if you've got some info at hashtag SB Universe. And of course, if you want to follow us on Facebook, we're Spaceboy Universe. And if you want to follow along with all the other space cadets out there, we're all here at the Spreaker chat room. And just do a search for Spaceboy Universe and that'll get you there. Of course, you know, if you always miss the show, we're always on demand. Spreaker, SoundCloud, and YouTube, among many other things. So before I go any further, across from me is the lovely Surlana. How are you, Surlana?
Did you say it was March 12th?
I did.
I'm so proud of you.
I know. I was having some kind of conniption fit last weekend where...
You didn't feel well.
I didn't. I was really under the weather. I felt like...
But he's on fire tonight, people.
He's on fire! Yes, I'm having a great evening.
I'm hearing the John Cena music.
I know. I didn't want to go there, but... Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but yeah, it's I'm feeling good compared to last week. I had like a major migraine before the show last week and kind of took an hour nap, and when I got up, I still didn't feel good. But tonight, I am feeling the groove going on, and everything's just kind of trucking along. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to just give a quick shout out to Gigi Rabbit. I'm glad he made it. And hey, glad to see you there. Tina's in the chat room. K28. I know if I don't say K28, he's going to have a conniption fit. So hey, K28, I appreciate you showing up to the show tonight. It's going to be a good night, ladies and gentlemen. All my favorite space cadets rolling into the speaker chat room. So yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. So this is the part where we kind of go back and forth. You showed me the I've been thinking about a new vehicle, not getting one like tomorrow or anything.
Yeah, but
I'm kind of planning out a new vehicle because I have a car that I've been using for some time now that is getting on its way, and I'm ready to upgrade. So I was a big fan of the Ford Transit. I like that. It's boxy. You could haul some stuff with it. But then the other day you showed me a new vehicle from Jeep that's coming out in 2017.
Yeah, I saw it on Facebook.
The Comanche, I believe, is what it is, and it looks really kind of cool.
It's strange looking. It's very conceptual.
It's small. Wrap your head around it. It's small. It's kind of a small vehicle, but yet it looks like a truck.
It's a Jeep, but it's a truck.
It's a truck.
It's got the Jeep front, and it either has a hard top or a soft top, and then a pickup truck bed.
I wonder if it's almost...
it looks tough as nails.
I mean, it's about the size of maybe a Ford Ranger with a small cab, But
it's really cool.
It
I have
is
to
very
say.
cool. So if y'all get a chance to do some searching out there, look for the new Jeep Comanche 27 to see what I'm talking about. She showed me one that was red, and I just about lost my mind.
I know,
And
that was,
I was like,
yeah.
ooh, I got to get this one. So, but yeah, so the new Jeep Comanche is on my list. I'm going to check that out. Also, there had been rumors of, or not rumors, but Beetlejuice 2 coming out, right?
Well, I heard that it might be jumping the gun.
Well, yeah, that's what I heard too. Apparently, I've been hearing some scuttlebutt come back that the Beetlejuice 2 is, hey, like Tim Burton said, whoa, hold on, hold your horses. We're not going forward on this just yet. So there's, a little holding back, but it'd be great to see Beetlejuice 2 because I think...
Would Keaton do it?
Yeah. Well, heck, sure he would. And putting the makeup on him, I mean, it's not going to be much of a stretch of him, because, I mean, he's kind of a ghost with the most, is what his coin phrase was. But
and if he looks older, so much the better.
So much the better, just aging, So, yeah, that is jumping the gun. So we'll have to wait and see what Tim Burton decides to do on that. Continuing on with this gravy train, The Tick.
Sorry.
The Tick is coming back. Yes, Amazon has decided to reboot The Tick, so it'll be interesting to see that show come back.
But it's live action, not animated.
Yeah, it's not animation. It's going to be live action, just like the one with Wahlberg that was in it, our favorite guy.
Warburton, yeah.
Yeah, Warburton. And so it'll be interesting to see who they fill the shoes, or who's going to fill those shoes for The Tick. Another sad thing on my radar is the most interesting man alive. Well, Dos Equis is deciding to retire him. So the Dos Equis man is going into retirement. So no more interesting man alive. I think that was the most interesting campaign that they had for their...
It was the most interesting meme, too.
Exactly. Oh, yes. Who hasn't been memed with that one? Another thing, I loved Tomb Raider when Angelina Jolie played Lara Croft, but now I hear that Daisy Ridley is being considered to be the next Lara Croft for Tomb Raider. I think that's an awesome choice because she had a pretty powerful role in Star Wars, The Force Awakens. I think that she can own that part, and I look forward to seeing that. Maybe she'll play a younger Lara Croft and go from there. Now, I freaked out when we finally saw the new trailer for Civil War, Captain America Civil War.
I'm confused by that.
What are you confused about?
Because I kept seeing these trailers and he wasn't in it. So is this a new updated trailer, or is this a fan-made
This
thing?
is the newest trailer that's out there. And
so they deliberately taunted...
They taunted us until this point. Yes, we are talking, ladies and gentlemen. We are talking about Spidey himself, Spider-Man. And I like the outfit. It pays homage to the 1970s Spider-Man. Of course, what I really thought was cool was the eye movement.
It looks like something we just saw.
Deadpool,
yes.
But what's funny about that is,
and now I'm like kind of meh about seeing the movie because I've seen Deadpool, and I know Deadpool's better.
When Deadpool was doing his costume, remember when he's in the, it's my understanding that he had a Spider-Man mask that he turned inside out. And so that's what all I can think about is, one, how cool this Spider-Man looks, and two, Deadpool using the Spider-Man mask inside out to create his own outfit. But anyway, I'm looking forward to going to see it. As always, when we go to the movies, as long as I'm paying for all the grub and the tickets, you'll go, and you'll go, whatever. But I think you're going to enjoy this because this is going to be a smackdown between Team Iron Man and Team Cap. So it'll be a pretty dang good movie to go see. So I'm pretty excited about it. Yeah, and Spider-Man. Ooh, Spider-Man, new Spider-Man.
Bob just tweeted the picture of that Jeep.
Oh, cool. Thanks, Bob. So, yeah, Spider-Man, can't wait to see that. Now, CBS, I guess, has decided to delay the new TV show for Star Trek. And I'm a little bummed by it, but, what can you do? Because, Paramount and CBS love to yank our chain when it comes to Star Trek. We know different ways, whether it be hurting on the fan community or hurting on fan created shows. So their reasoning behind that was that because Star Trek Beyond was coming out, they didn't want people to compare it or to assume that that was a continuation. And I think I'm just going to call hooey on that because I'm tired of, I get tired of CBS and / Paramount doing that to us.
Well, there's been an explosion all of a sudden of sanctioned CBS things and then fan-funded things. Mm-hmm. It's like we're having some kind of Trek revival, which is all to the good, if you ask me.
Well, I'm 100% behind fan-created projects. When we had Jim and Jody on with their project, and of course there was Manu and Taremi who came on.
He may connect with us again soon.
Renegades. I thought that was pretty cool. And there's a few other projects out there that I don't want to go into too deep on this because we'll just save it for another Star Trek show.
Mm-hmm. And we can always do Star Trek shows. But I'm frustrated with them because I want Star Trek, and then but on the flip side, we're finally getting Star Wars stuff. It's been confirmed that Chewbacca is going to be in the Han Solo movies that are coming out, so that's kind of cool. And then this Rogue Squadron that's supposed to be coming. Is it Rogue Squadron or something like that? You're asking the wrong person.
I'm sorry. I am
so checked out when it comes to Star Wars.
I am so nerded out tonight because of all this nerd stuff that's out there. Just like I saw the trailer for the new Ghostbusters movies with all the ladies in it, and quite frankly, it looks cool. There's a part of it that kind of makes me feel like Men in Black, but on the flip side, I'm going to go along with the ride and see how it goes, and it's we'll just see how it goes on that one. What are your thoughts on that?
The all-female Ghostbusters?
Yeah,
I'll give it a shot. I think it'll be a matter of the writing and the script. If it falls flat, it won't be because necessarily those women are not good.
Because they're all entertaining in their own right. A lot of them from Saturday Night Live, and then of course Melissa McCarthy. Thank you.
Is it McCarthy?
McCarthy. Yeah. Anyway, they know. She's very talented. We used to watch that show, Mike and Molly.
Yeah, that was a well-written show.
Very well written. Well, who was the guy behind it that also does Big Bang? He does, all those shows. So,
Two Stupid Men, whatever that thing is.
Yeah, the name for kind of eludes me right now because. But anyway, she's great. So great cast. We'll see what they can do. We can only hope for the best and go from there. So, other than that, anything else you want to add to this? Nerd cake that I've been talking
just glad that some of the people I know in Louisiana are okay because I'm from Northwest Louisiana and they got slammed with rain and major flooding and damage and all kind of stuff like that up there. The rains we had here, it was we escaped the flooding and damage. It was just an annoyance here with thunderstorms, but up there it was so much worse.
Yeah, in fact, a lot of that rain Dallas got smacked down, and they got pretty wet up there. And I was seeing some of the videos that was out there, and it looked pretty nasty. And all that stuff went towards Shreveport and your neck of the woods, and it was pretty bad there.
Yeah, we were on the tail end of it, so I guess ours wasn't as intense.
I think there was a lot of people here in Houston that were thinking, "Oh, please let it close down. I don't want to go to work."
Yeah. We were like, we don't want anybody to lose anything. Just make it so where we can't drive.
You can't get to work.
Yeah, we were one of that. But I have a situation at my workplace where there is one road that does flood, and they'll have to redirect you out if you want to get out off campus. And if those all go out, they will shut it down. But it never happened. So.
Yeah, and then, of course, I'm driving that little car. Could you imagine if I had that Comanche? Boy,
man.
No problem getting to work then. I just,
I'm hearing the A-Team theme in my head.
Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, hey, let's go ahead and take a break because I know we can bring our friend Gordon Rupe in and chit chat, and he can home his own, or you know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
I shouldn't have had that peanut butter and jelly sandwich before going on air. It has pumped me full of sugar, and I'm bouncing off the wall. So with that said,
I'm from another planet.
I am from another planet, and you're listening to Spaceboy Universe. By the way, we are on KFNX, 1100 Independent Talk, and Cave Creek, Phoenix. All right. Hey, Space Cadets! Want to show your love for the universe? Get your official SBU t-shirt now. Just click the banner on the homepage. Other products are available too. Get yours today.
Hello, Space Cadets. This is Surlana, and I realize you are busy and can't always be there for our live show. Fortunately, our shows are available on demand on Spreaker, YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and TuneIn. Just search for Spaceboy Universe.
This is author Gordon Rupe. You are listening to the Spaceboy Universe.
This is K28, and I'm listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Hi, y'all. This is Lori calling from Texas, and I love listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Hey, this is Dave Cruz, host of Beyond the Strange, and you're listening to Spaceboy Universe.
This is Wendy. I'm listening to Spaceboy Universe. Hey, y'all. This is Lorelai DeLille. I listen to Spaceboy Universe. Don't you? Tell your mom and them I said hi.
The epic battle begins this Friday. Direct from ringside at Laser Death Melt. It's Bot versus Bot in Galaxy's 2-ton weight championship, where your challenger, Good Bot, will face the reigning champion, Bad Bot.
You're terminated.
Reserve seating starting at $30. 2-drink minimum, where ladies don't get in free. This is an SBU production. You're listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Hey, Surlana!
What?
If Spaceboy Universe was cheese, would you eat it? Come on now, it's a simple question.
Maybe?
SpaceboyUniverse.com. Techno, dance, atmospheric moods? Yes, my friends. My latest release, Digital, has something for everyone. Even makes a great gift for Grandma. Buy your digital download at SpaceboyMusic.com.
To call in, dial area code 713-701-5214. You are listening to Spaceboy Universe. Here are your hosts, Spaceboy and Surlana.
Man, I love that song. I wonder who writes that. Could it be Spaceboy? Anyway, I digress. Hey, before we get started, I want to call out the Space Cadet Army to do me a big favor. You know who you are, Space Cadets, and you know why I love you. So, we want to make sure you tell KFNX Independent Talk, which is 11 Independent Talk, Cave Creek, Phoenix, how much you love Spaceboy on their channel. And you can do that through Twitter. And there's 2 Twitter handles I want to make sure you let them know that you love your Spaceboy Universe. And that's at KFNX_headlines. And that's at KFNX_headlines. And the other one is at Francis_KFNX. And that's FRANCIS_KFNX. Let them know that you love Spaceboy Universe and you love Cave Creek, Phoenix. With that said, Surlana?
Yes, without further ado, Gordon Rupe was born and raised in Oakland, California, and he's traveled much of the United States. He has a degree in ancient history. He's also obsessed with Rome and Egypt. He's been married for over 5 years and has a son named Caleb. His latest publication is what we're going to talk about tonight. JFK, Web of Pawns, is available right now on Amazon. Without much more ado, let's welcome Gordon Rupe.
Hey. How's it going, everybody?
All right. How are you, Gordon?
I am cool in the gang, my friend. How's everybody in the Space Cadet world?
Well, we're doing pretty good. Pretty good. As you probably heard, I'm hyped up on a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and feeling great this evening. And I've been looking forward to hearing about your new publication, Web of Pawns. So
yeah, it was a labor of love and the dare. I was talking to Spaceboy, and he pretty much dared me to write the book, so I did.
Well, that's all. Yeah. It's great to have you on because we're always guaranteed an interesting show from you, and your comedic styles are there's something to be had. But as Surlana always tells me,
I'll laugh when it's funny.
There you go.
So if I don't laugh, it ain't funny.
Yeah. That's a lot better philosophy than my wife because I'll say something unfunny and she'll just throw something at me. So
So where do we begin this magical mystery tour?
Well, I read his publication, and as we were telling Gordon earlier, right before we, went live, that Spaceboy is more like Gordon. He's versed on this topic. He's interested in it. He knows about it. He knows the key players. He knows the circumstances. I am what you call a newbie, a beginner to the topic. I'm aware we had John F. Kennedy as our president. I'm aware who he was married to. I know about his supposed affairs. I know about that he was assassinated. And I know maybe by who, and there was something about this magic bullet theory, but that is all I know. So I'm probably the perfect person for Gordon to talk to about this, to really educate me. And so
now, isn't this a switch? Usually it's just Spaceboy and I just nerding back and forth.
Well, you can.
Well, I figured that later on we'll nerd back and forth because I imagine you'll have some things to say about our opening banter. But I really wanted to take tonight's show in a direction where, great, I could spew off everything, but from the angle of Surlana,
it's before my time, and so. Growing up, I never really heard my parents talk about it, or maybe I just
when you're as young as you are, because you're like, what, 19, 20? When you're that young, a lot of people don't know about it, and a lot of people hear about it through mythos, and, I was having a conversation the other day about Jonestown, and I found that tons of people don't remember Jonestown.
Is that the Kool-Aid thing?
I was getting ready to say, but they probably are familiar with the phrase,
don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Or drinking the Kool-Aid.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And so it falls into that echelon where there's that mythos. There's Oliver Stone did the movie JFK, and it's a brilliant movie, but it does leave some things out. It doesn't really go into detail about the Warren Commission. It doesn't really go into detail about the mafia connections and things of that nature.
You can almost take a piece of this and expand that out into a book. We wouldn't even have to have the whole story.
That is one thing. The thing about the JFK assassination, conspiracy in general, it's such a wide topic of different things, and it is exact. I mean, the name that you picked for this book is spot on because it is like a web. I mean, it's all these different parts. And then
people and players
and all coming into a fixed point, which is JFK. It's boggling when you start to go down the roads.
I was reading your publication, and you put it in a just pretty straightforward manner and easy to understand. So I didn't have to it was like highfalutin mumbo jumbo. I could just it's very accessible.
What does this mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so. I did have some questions because, like I said, I am kind of new to this. So, to begin with some of the first things you mentioned, what are these white pages that you refer to early on in your book? The white pages.
Oh well, no. I just if you look at the Warren Commission,
okay,
and look at their report, it's just so mumbo jumbo, backwards, forwards, in all the wrong places. And my interpretation is it's easier to read and understand the white pages than it is to read the Warren Commission report.
Mm-hmm.
Because they ignore almost every law of physics known to God. They ignore evidence. Out of over 240 witnesses, they only interviewed roughly about half of that. Many witnesses say that their statements were altered. Many say that their statements weren't even taken. So when it comes to reading the Warren Report, it's, it'd be easier to read like a text from, 3,000 years ago in a dead language.
Yeah.
It would be much easier because everything is just so misplaced. And with the Warren Commission, one of the things that's often, neglected to be mentioned is the fact that almost everyone on the Warren Commission hated Kennedy.
That's what I was going to ask you. It's like that was not an impartial commission or committee.
That was not impartial at all. That was, and I mean, Earl Warren, to his credit, he did not want to be the head of the commission. He turned it down 3 times before he took it because President Johnson came to him with the whole spiel of, you owe your country, do this for your country, blah, blah, blah. And he finally guilt-tripped him into doing it, like literally.
Just to clarify, the Warren Commission was put together to investigate the assassination,
Yeah,
right?
the Warren Commission was, I don't want to say thrown together, but, it was pretty much a motley crew put together by Johnson and Hoover to, make it look like, they cared about who killed Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
It was headed by Chief Justice Earl Warren. It also had Richard Russell Jr., John Sherman Cooper, Hale Boggs, who, interestingly enough, disappeared in 1971, which, Nixon didn't like Boggs. And shortly after he asked Ford to replace him, he just magically disappeared. Gerald Ford, who became president, he was a member, Alan Welsh Jules, and John J. McCloy. And what's so funny about McCloy is he is one of the people on the commission who has nothing to do with politics. He was president of the World Bank.
That was like, okay, so how are these people qualified to look into this matter? And you said there were people in the committee who were communists. So, I mean, definitely didn't have the good of America in mind when they were going.
Well, they were quote unquote suspected communists. As I say with a lot of the stuff I write, because a lot of it is, has already happened in the past, as it were, you have to look at the times. At the times, a lot of people were still getting over the anti-America committee with, the McCarthyism.
Mm-hmm.
They were getting over the whole, the whole threat of communism in the United States. The John Birch Society was alive and well, which is, John Birch Society is pretty much poison to anyone. They printed out wanted posters and, wanted for communism, and they did that to Earl Warren.
After World War I, there seemed to be everybody was on a communist hunt in America. I'm like, are you communist? Or, that type of thing. I don't know if this kind of butted up against that mindset.
Well, it kind of, history does repeat itself. Because after World War I, as you mentioned, everybody was trying to find a communist. And, if you suspected your neighbor was a communist, you were encouraged to report them. Like, it sounds like horrible fiction, but it was true.
I think it's going to come back around again, except it won't be communists. It'll be Christians. It'll be hunted down.
Well, the interesting
No, it's quite the opposite. It already happened after 9/11, when people were like, oh, well, I think he's a Muslim. I think he might be a Muslim,
Well,
and so it already repeated.
Well, the interesting thing is that it almost seems like time is repeating again with the way the nation is going with this, I guess, the presidential debate. But before we get any further, let's go ahead and take our bottom of the hour break here, Gordon. And when we come back, we'll talk more with Gordon Rupe and his book, Web of Pawns. And you're listening to KFNX 1100 Independent Talk. This is Spaceboy of Spaceboy Universe. We'll be right back after this. Hey, Space Cadets. Want to show your love for the universe? Get your official SBU t-shirt now. Just click the banner on the homepage. Other products are available too. Get yours today.
Hello, Space Cadets. This is Surlana, and I realize you're busy and can't always be there for our live show. Fortunately, our shows are available on demand on Spreaker, YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and TuneIn. Just search for Spaceboy Universe.
This is author Gordon Rupe. You are listening to the Spaceboy Universe.
This is K28, and I'm listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Hi, y'all. This is Lori calling from Texas, and I love listening to Spaceboy Universe. Rock on, Spaceboy.
Hey there, this is Wendy. I'm listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Hey, this is Elisha, and you're listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Hey, y'all. This is Lorelai Jalil. I listen to Spaceboy Universe. Don't you? Tell your mom and them I said hi.
The epic battle begins this Friday. Direct from ringside at Laser Death Melt Pit. Bot versus Bot in Galaxy's 2-ton weight championship, where your challenger, Good Bot, will face the reigning champion, Bad Bot. You're terminated. Reserve seating starting at $30. 2-drink minimum, where ladies don't get in free. This is an SBU production. You're listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Hey, Surlana.
Yeah, Spaceboy?
A lot of people have been asking about T-shirts from the universe.
They have?
Yeah, in fact, they've been, seeing these things pop up here and there, and they've been wondering where to get them.
Well, all you have to do is go to spaceboyuniverse.com, and there is a banner ad right there you can click on, take you right to the store so you can grab a T-shirt for yourself.
Is it just T-shirts?
Well, no, there's more than just T-shirts. You can take a piece of the universe with you on many different kinds of products.
Sounds cool. Go to spaceboyuniverse.com. Hey, Surlana!
What?
If Spaceboy Universe was cheese, would you eat it? Come on now, it's a simple question.
Maybe?
spaceboyuniverse.com. Techno, dance, atmospheric moods? Yes, my friends. My latest release, Digital, has something for everyone. Even makes a great gift for Grandma. Buy your digital download at spaceboymusic.com. Hey, Surlana.
Yeah, Spaceboy?
I've been getting a few calls lately about people that are just not able to catch the live show, and they're wondering about the on-demand show for Spaceboy Universe.
Indeed there is. You can catch our archives on our YouTube channel and on SoundCloud. We're also on a variety of other platforms such as Spreaker, TuneIn, and Stitcher.
Well, that sounds cool.
It is. So check out our archives on any of these websites.
And you can definitely get to these links by going to spaceboyuniverse.com.
To call in, dial area code 713-701-5214. You are listening to Spaceboy Universe. Here are your hosts, Spaceboy and Surlana.
First off, I like the new Spider-Man outfit. Now, Gordon doesn't like the new Spider-Man outfit.
Who cares?
No.
With that said, we're moving on. I'll leave you time for the rebuttal and after the top of the next hour here, okay, sir?
I'm wearing my Spider-Man footsie thing right now, so.
I thought you were going to say your what was it? The Spider-Man what are those pajamas that they had when I guess I can't even remember, but I guess it doesn't matter.
Underoos.
Thank you. So when we last left you, Gordon, you and Surlana were chatting it up. So please continue.
I didn't mean to take over. I just
no. You have questions. Gordon has answers, and
I'm trying to make sense of what all the. I'm guessing one thing leads to another with this. You've got to go back to find out where all this starts from.
That's what the fix says.
So one thing leads to another.
In a sense, yeah, because it starts with, one of the major things that, again, often goes ignored is the fact that JFK, wanted to pull all of the troops out of Vietnam by 1965. All of them.
Mm-hmm.
And that was not good for business for people like,
because war makes money.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I mean, you look at aerospace and Bell helicopters. Bell helicopters, they're the ones who made the most money from Vietnam because they had exclusive contract, and they did all of the I mean, all you have to do is watch any Vietnam film, and you'll see one of their helicopters.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the one that looks, they're called, their unofficial title were Fireflies. Fireflies or Dragonflies. And so, because they had the bubble front, the bubble sides, I mean, the opening scene.
They're very iconic.
Oh, yeah. The opening scene of Apocalypse Now, you've got like 4 of them right there, And so they were making money hand over fist. It just so happens Johnson may or may not have had some investment in it. It's a little clouded, a.k.a. classified.
Plus, I can only imagine that, when Ike warned us about the military-industrial complex getting out of hand, that, you could imagine them losing all that money that was going their way, too, so...
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a matter of, who had what to gain. I mean, I hate to cite the film JFK again, but there's a brilliant scene between Kevin Costner and Donald Sutherland, and he says, "Think about who had what to gain from the assassination," and it's true. Jim Garrison, the DA who Kevin Costner plays, who was a real life man. Who, ironically, he played Earl Warren in the movie, which I just thought was hysterical, because he hated Earl Warren. Like, he hated that like I hate vegetables,
Oh, wow. That's a hatred.
But, yeah, that's, But, he cited, everyone says, what about the mafia? And, I cite, very early in my book, my theories about the mafia. I mean... Yeah, they had power, but you got to keep in mind it was the early '60s. They don't have the kind of power they have now.
You said the mob is not like the mob we think or we think we know about. Like from the movies. You said it was just getting started, and I want to know what is the mob? Did they have really an angle with this? Because you said, first of all, I was like, why does the U.S. need better control of Cuba? What did Cuba have, or is it just because they didn't need communists so close to our front door? Or, so what was the mob's role? You said they wanted a Kennedy done with, but not necessarily the president.
Right. Yeah. Their big enemy was Bobby Kennedy.
Right.
Because Bobby Kennedy hated him some mob. I mean, he went after, Jimmy Hoffa, the way a fat kid goes after a donut. I mean, he wanted him out. He wanted him in jail. He wanted him, and funny enough, Jimmy Hoffa knew Jack Ruby, who later on killed Lee Harvey Oswald. Spoiler alert. What, no giggles? Really? Come on. That's
I'm sorry, I'm looking at chat.
Well, I was just going to add that it just goes to show you what a web we weave when we practice to deceive. Yeah.
Well played, sir.
Yes,
well played.
Thank you very much.
But the mob, the chain of events with connection with Cuba is the sheer fact that under Batista, who was before Castro, the mob could pretty much do whatever they wanted. And they had casinos and spas and, whorehouses and et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
And when Castro came in, he took all those mobsters and he either deported them or he threw them in jail, and then he took all their money. So, they had clear motivation to get Castro out because they wanted to go back to Cuba and, go back to the way things were. That's why they got involved what's known as Operation Mongoose.
I was just going to ask you to elaborate on that.
Did you like that?
Yeah.
Operation Mongoose was a covert military operation by our government to assassinate Fidel Castro. The U.S. had a common enemy with the mafia. And so what they did was when they, let's face it, when you want somebody dead, you go to the mafia. I mean, you don't go to, a plumber and go, hey, can you kill him? And they had attempts to, like, poison his food. They had a poisoned cigar, which just makes me think of old Bugs Bunny cartoons.
Yeah, explodey cigars.
Yeah, and they wanted him dead. The American government wanted him dead because Batista was a bit more friendly to the United States. He was a bit more elbow-rubbing, hand-shaking, and that's what they wanted. They wanted that friendliness, i.e. the power to not necessarily control, but they make suggestions, and for the right amount of money, that suggestion's taken. And so, when you look at the mafia didn't want Kennedy, they didn't want Jack Kennedy dead.
Right.
Because he was their buddy. He was helping them kill, Sam Giancana, he was, one of the guys who they drafted for this. I mean, him and a couple other of the men in the mob met Robert Mayhew, who was a CIA guy, and he's known for his big, partnership with Howard Hughes, and the very elusive Howard Hughes. And I think it was, a matter of they offered the mob money and the mob turned him down. They're like, we'll kill Castro for free.
Yeah.
That's how badly they wanted him out.
So it wasn't the mob who wanted the president gone. You said it didn't benefit Castro to have Kennedy off. So why was he gotten rid of?
There's a laundry list of reasons Kennedy was out. I mean, it's kind of funny to think about because people go, oh, well, you go ahead and you have, the Vietnam Initiative, and you have, a lot of people, think that it had to do with his part in integration, because that's, going back to Earl Warren, that's why there were wanted posters of Earl Warren from the John Birch Society, because, in Brown versus the Board of Education, he said he was the deciding factor for blacks and whites to go to school together.
Right.
And that's why there were wanted posters of him. And with Kennedy, he was working with Dr. King. He was, he had, there was a lot of different, he had his fingers in a lot of different pies. So for the fact of motive, it could be literally anything. And I think that's what America's obsession with it is, it's why.
This is, like you said, it's a strange interconnected.
Yeah, it's one big piece
thing,
of pie.
It's like A goes to B goes to C
exactly.
to F. So
it's a very tangled web.
So why? Here's another question I was reading. Why murder Rosselli and Giancana? Tell me about those guys.
Well, the whole thing with them is it could go either way, because it could be a mob hit, it could be a government hit. I mean, the fact is that, they were both of them were killed in almost the identical same way. They were found off the coast of Miami in a fuel drum, chopped to bits. Like you do,
Wow.
And, I think it was Roselli who was, he was the go-between for the Las Vegas mob. He went in between Las Vegas and Chicago. And so he'd get the money from the Chicago mobsters. And mind you, this is when the mobsters were just setting up in Vegas. So he would
you had another guy who was down in New Orleans. He was a mobster heading that up, which I didn't know about. Yeah, my state does not fare very well in this whole story. With the senators and the
in history mobsters. In general, Louisiana is like been notorious about
Huey P. Long.
Yeah.
It just we don't fare very well in history. Except we did give you half of the country with Louisiana Purchase. That's about our contribution right there.
And
crawfish and
food.
catfish, yeah.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. Oh.
It's mud bug season.
Whew. I'm getting a case of the vapors.
Good Lord. Anyway, so
no, the whole thing that's interesting is you look at the mob connection, and the mob connection went from Dallas to New Orleans to Miami. David Ferry and Clay Shaw, a.k.a. Lee Bertram, their gun running went from Dallas to New Orleans to Miami. What a coincidence. And Clay Shaw was CIA. He was CIA before there was a CIA.
Yeah.
And David Ferry, he was in the CIA. And so you have that CIA mafia connection going between those three cities. And so where the mob ties in, again, was Operation Mongoose. Their sole job was, look, if you kill Castro, you can go to Cuba and do whatever you want. That was their incentive. And it's very cute, when, you have what my aunt calls the tinfoil crowd, trying to say the mafia killed Kennedy. They didn't have the power.
No, they didn't.
They couldn't reroute the traffic in Dallas. They couldn't, they didn't have the kind of power it took to kill Kennedy. Cuba had no interest in killing Kennedy. It was kind of like the snake eating its own tail. Because Castro liked Kennedy. He said he respected him. He didn't want him killed because he knew he would be, quote, and this is a direct quote, he would be destroyed by America.
Right.
And so he knew that killing Kennedy was not in his best interest. Then you had the mob working, quote unquote, for Kennedy, which may or may not be true. It could be an independent Hoover operation, which is certainly not unheard of. Hoover had a file on everybody. I'd be surprised if, he didn't have a file on, my grandparents or something. I mean, almost everyone who was in the military, he had some sort of record or file on, and he kept up with that file. And so, you had the mafia working for Kennedy, and Kennedy shaking the hand, metaphorically, of Castro.
So Castro didn't want Kennedy gone. The mob didn't necessarily want the president Kennedy gone. So again, and then you've got two of the mob players end up dead. Don't know why. So now here comes a man called Lee Harvey Oswald. And as you pointed out,
which one?
Yeah, the one we saw. So from your book, you say the FBI knew about him all along, but he has the weirdest backstory. It's so jumbled.
Yeah, he does. He does.
Tell me about the magic tonsils.
I'm sorry, what was that? I couldn't hear you.
Tell me about the magic tonsils.
And remember, we're on terrestrial radio, which FCC rules apply.
The ones that's in the back of your throat, tonsils.
Oh, I didn't think you were talking about Linda Lovelace.
No.
See, some people caught that reference and some people didn't.
I got it, but I'm going to walk right away from it.
Yeah,
Tap dancing to the left.
Well, with Lee Harvey Oswald, he had his tonsils removed.
Right.
And so I think he was, I can't recall, he was 6, I believe. And, when he went back into the military, well, when he initially went into the military, because he was, in 1945, he was 6, and he had his tonsils removed. Well, while he was in the Marines, he joined the Marines at age 17, according to his brother, to get away from their mother, who was just evil incarnate. He was treated for tonsillitis in 1957 and in 1958.
But he didn't have tonsils.
Exactly. So it's a matter of, you know, what a lot of people call, you know, the tale of two Oswalds. You know, because you know, there's a lot of people who say there was two, and now recently I read a theory where it has to do with three different Oswalds. And you know, oh yeah, I read, doing research for this book, I read some theories that were just wow.
In fact, I think
like Martians.
I was just watching recently an In Search Of episode where they were talking about two different Oswalds and showed the burial marker for one of them.
Well, you know, the thing with the multiple Oswalds was in 1956 to 1959, he was in the Marines, and he was recorded at 5'11". After he left the Marines in 1960, he went to Russia, and he was recorded at 5'6". Then, when he left Russia and came back to America, he was 5'9".
That's what I wanted to ask you about. So he moves to Russia for some reason. I never understood why he did that.
Well, he was a hardcore communist, and he went to Russia and, quote-unquote, denounced his American citizenship.
And he was in some hot hurry to marry when he was over there.
Yeah, you know what? And I brought that up in Conspiracy Evolution. And, you know, it was one of those little factoids that got ignored. And I find it very interesting. He was with one girl, and he proposed to her, and she dumped him. And then, like, 3 weeks later, he starts, you know, proposing to other, you know, it's like, dude, calm down, okay? Like, don't be in such a rush. I mean, you know, he was, you know, for some reason, he was in a rush to do everything on his way to the USSR because he was in a hurry to denounce his American citizenship. He went to the consulate, and they almost had to remove him because he was so temper-driven. At, you know, I want to be a Russian citizen. You know, he gets to Russia, denounces his American citizen. Man, see, Space Boy, your thing is contagious now. And when he got there, he was like, "Look, I'm a former Marine. I know things. I can give you information." And the KGB literally laughed at him. They laughed at him. But then they turn around and they give him his own apartment in Minsk, and they give him a job at a I think it was a calculator factory. And, you know, a radio factory. And by now, he changed his name from Lee Oswald to Alec. It had nothing to do with Oswald anymore, because he had so many aliases. You know, he changed it to Alec J. Heidel. And while he worked at this factory, he had an apartment with his wife, and he made more money than the factory manager. How does that happen?
He just seems like a sketchy individual all the way around.
Well, I mean, assuming it was him.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, assuming it was the true Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, he'd gone out with, as you mentioned, he was in a hurry to get married. He went out with Ella German, and, you know, she turned him down for the sheer fact he was American. And then he started going out with Marina, and it was like a month later, they got married. Why in such a hurry? I mean, you know, immigration, a lot of people will think, well, you know, if he marries, you know, somebody who lives there, then immigration is easy peasy, blah, blah, blah. Where it's not, for one, it's not like that in Russia, and for two, this is, you know, over 40, 50 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so a Russian marrying an American was kind of like, you know, unheard of, because of the sheer fact of everybody hated communists, you know.
That's what I want to ask. So if he's such a diehard communist and denounced America, how the heck did he get back into this country?
And that's the question. Nobody really knows because he, denounced America, denounced his citizenship, so on and so on and such.
Strolls back on in,
And him and his wife get visas, I think it was within the week they applied. Do you know how fast that is?
Yes.
And like I said, consider the time. They came back to America in June of '62. So, I mean, and they got first-class tickets. What? I mean, most companies don't treat their employees that well, much less people who have denounced America. I mean, so he denounced, came back in
fishy.
With no problem. Yeah, well, I mean, it's very suspicious.
It's like somebody was like, "Oh, you're back. We've been waiting for you. Here's all this stuff. Are you ready to get started?"
Right.
Well, what's very curious is when he was in the Marines, he was a radar operator.
Mm-hmm.
And the Marines saw fit to teach him Russian. Why does a radar operator need to learn Russian?
Yes.
And then immediately after he, quote-unquote, learned Russian, he left the Marines and went to Russia. Geez, what a coincidence. I mean, it's that connection that we were talking about. Point A leads directly to point B, directly to C. I mean, it's all a straight line. And everything on that line has branches.
Yes. It's a convoluted thing here. I mean...
Well, earlier I mentioned Clay Shaw and David Ferry.
Yes, Ferry.
David Ferry was Lee Harvey Oswald's commanding officer in the Central Air Corps when he was 16. And, so they're connected that way. I mean, several of Jack Ruby's employees saw Jack Ruby with Lee Harvey Oswald on multiple occasions. And so it's kind of like everyone is connected through one person. It's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
And what happened to Ferry?
Oh, Ferry. Oh, that's such a delicious story. The man had, a quote-unquote terminal illness. And we're going to say quote-unquote because it's suspicious. The man died of natural causes, and yet they found 2 unsigned suicide notes, both in different handwriting.
That's freaky.
Isn't that convenient? Well, I'm going to, and my wife's friend said, Gordon, that's something you would do. If you knew you were going to die, you'd write a suicide note and just die natural causes just to mess with people.
Yeah. So what was Ferry's role in all this? How is he connected to this stuff?
Ferry had a handful of different connections. He was connected to Ruby through Dallas because it's supposed that they ran guns together. You have connection of Ferry to Clay Shaw / Bertram. You have Ferry's connection to Lee Harvey Oswald. I mean, it's amazing how many different connections these people have to each other, and yet the Warren Commission didn't find one.
It sounds like if you wanted to graph all this out, like you said, make a chart with lines branching off, you'd need a chart the size of a football field.
Well, you could get one of those programs, and my wife suggested this, to get one of those programs to make a family tree and root it out that way. And I'm like, I don't think I have the hard drive space,
Well,
because that would...
I was going to say, the genealogy, I guess ancestry software. Hey, before we go any further, let's go ahead and take this next break. And when we come back, we'll be talking more with Gordon Rupe, Surlana, and Spaceboy here on Spaceboy Universe and on 1100 Independent Talk, Cave Creek, Phoenix. That's KFNX. Hey, Space Cadets. Want to show your love for the universe? Get your official SBU t-shirt now. Just click the banner on the homepage. Other products are available too. Get yours today.
Hello, Space Cadets. This is Surlana, and I realize you are busy and can't always be there for our live show. Fortunately, our shows are available on demand on Spreaker, YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and TuneIn. Just search for Spaceboy Universe.
This is author Gordon Rupe. You are listening to the Spaceboy Universe.
This is K28, and I'm listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Hi, y'all. This is Lori calling from Texas, and I love listening to Spaceboy Universe. Rock on, Spaceboy.
Hey there, this is Wendy. I'm listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Hey, this is Elisha, and you're listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Hey, y'all. This is Lorelai DeLille. I listen to Spaceboy Universe. Don't you? Tell your mom and them I said hi.
The epic battle begins this Friday. Direct from ringside at Laser Death Melt Pit. Bot versus Bot in Galaxy's 2-ton weight championship, where your challenger, Good Bot, will face the reigning champion, Bad Bot. You're terminated. Reserve seating starting at $30. 2-drink minimum, where ladies don't get in free. This is an SBU production. You're listening to Spaceboy Universe. Get your game on Spaceboy Universe. Level up with Spaceboy Universe. No quarters, no problems. Play it at Spaceboy Universe.
Hey, Surlana.
Yeah, Spaceboy?
A lot of people have been asking about T-shirts from the universe.
They have?
Yeah, in fact, they've been, seeing these things pop up here and there, and they've been wondering where to get them.
Well, all you have to do is go to spaceboyuniverse.com, and there is a banner ad right there you can click on, take you right to the store so you can grab a T-shirt for yourself.
Is it just T-shirts?
Well, no, there's more than just T-shirts. You can take a piece of the universe with you on many different kinds of products.
Sounds cool. Go to spaceboyuniverse.com. Hey, Surlana!
What?
If Spaceboy Universe was cheese, would you eat it? Come on now, it's a simple question.
Maybe?
Spaceboyuniverse.com. Techno, dance, atmospheric moods? Yes, my friends. My latest release, Digital, has something for everyone. Even makes a great gift for Grandma. Buy your digital download at spaceboymusic.com. Check out the new podcast, Spaceboy Universe, where we'll talk about a wide range of topics from A to Z. And remember, it's my universe and...
I'm trapped in it.
What?
SpaceboyUniverse.com.
Hey kids! Grab your milk and cereal. It's Spaceboy Universe time! Yay!
Hey, Surlana.
Yeah, Spaceboy?
I've been getting a few calls lately about people that are just not able to catch the live show, and they're wondering about the on-demand show for Spaceboy Universe.
Indeed there is. You can catch our archives on our YouTube channel and on SoundCloud. We're also on a variety of other platforms such as Spreaker, TuneIn, and Stitcher.
Well, that sounds cool.
It is. So check out our archives on any of these websites.
And you can definitely get to these links by going to spaceboyuniverse.com.
To call in, dial area code 713-701-5214. You are listening to Spaceboy Universe. Here are your hosts, Spaceboy and Surlana.
Welcome back, Space Cadets. I hope everyone's having a lovely evening this evening. Listening to Gordon talk about his new web book, Web of Pawns, available on Amazon.com. So, with that said, Gordon, you were talking when we left the last time and filling us in with all this juicy information.
I forgot where I was.
Well, the whole thing is, all Oswald, if there's just one, he's a suspicious character. It seems like they knew about him the whole time, and they knew where he was and had their eye on him. He got back in his country easily. A lot of people had their eye on him and kind of were following him, and kind of, I would have to say, people knew what he was up to some degree. Mm. Tell me,
oh yeah,
who is Jack Ruby?
Oh, Jack Ruby, my hero, as it were. I mean, this guy was, whether he knew it or not, he was the key player.
Uh-huh.
I mean, forget about Oswald, forget about everybody else. And I'm not going to give away too much because my book is available at Amazon.com for $1.99. Wow, that's so affordable.
That is very affordable.
Isn't it, though? Isn't it? But, you know, with Ruby, you know, he was, as well as involved with the police, he was involved with the mafia. And the Warren Commission said that they could not find any credible evidence that he was involved in the mafia. And when I read that, my coffee shot out of my nose because I was laughing so hard. Because almost everybody at his club had mafia connections.
Right.
The girls that worked for him, to his customers. I mean, his clubs were kind of like, you know, the neutral zone in Star Trek. The police and mafia would show up there alike, but there was no arresting allowed, no fighting allowed. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, with Ruby, if it weren't for him, none of this would have worked because he was the true patsy.
Really?
See, hopefully I'm like whetting people's appetites right now. They're like, really? I thought it was Oswald.
But he shot Oswald?
Yeah, he shot Oswald on live television.
After they'd already gotten Oswald.
After with everything that was said and done, Oswald was at the Dallas Police Department. And all throughout that morning, people had seen Ruby going in and out of the Dallas. You know, he brought coffee for the guys, which was not unusual for him. And so when he showed up, nobody thought anything of it. They're like, oh, hey, it's Jack again. Oh, thanks for the coffee, Jack, you know.
Mm.
He had pre-existing relationships with a majority of Dallas PD, including Officer Tippett, who I purposely left out of my book, by the way. There were some things that I felt were getting beaten to death, and I did not include them for that sheer fact. You know, J.D. Tippett got shot, and, you know, everyone blamed Oswald for it, although witnesses don't describe Oswald at all. They describe a tall blonde. So, I mean, that's kind of like, you know, really? You know, that's stretching it, you know. And so he was able to get into the police department without even being noticed. And then all of a sudden he comes out and, bam, shoots Oswald right in the gut. And so he was a very intricate player in this tangled web of deceit.
So you've got Oswald, who they're telling the world, okay, this is the guy that shot the president and the other guy. And then you have Ruby coming in and killing him on live TV, and that's supposed to say, like, well, we got the guy, and now he can't hurt anyone else. So is it all
he claimed,
is it all staged for us, or?
Jack Ruby claimed that he killed Oswald so that way Jackie and the children wouldn't have to go through a trial.
Mm.
And then later on, he claimed that was total BS. He said, no, I was just saying that, da-da-da-da-da. You know, I mean, he was at the press conference after, you know, Oswald was arrested. And he's actually on news footage at the press conference because he corrects one of the Dallas police officers. when they're talking about the group that Oswald's affiliated with, which is the Fair Play for Cuba Committee, and he miswords it, and Ruby corrects him. And the cameras pan to Ruby, and you can see it's Jack Ruby, and he's got a press pass.
This just raises more questions than it gives answers. That's not you, Gordon. I mean, this whole subject matter.
The whole thing is basically like an onion. Each layer you pull back, there's something new, and with each layer is something new, and after it, and so on and so on. So, I mean, it
truly
really
is an intricate web.
It really blows your mind once you start going into the depths of the.
I don't know whether to research it further or just throw up my hands and go, oh, well.
Well, Joe Pesci, who played David Ferry in the film, has a great quote. He says, "It's a mystery wrapped up in a riddle, wrapped up in an enigma."
I guess I need to watch that film.
Oh, the director's cut's like 3.5 hours, worth every minute. Every minute. But, I encourage, if you read my book, I'm not making up anybody's mind for them. In my book, I tell you what it is, how it went down, and if you want to research it more, great. If you don't, then you'll be happy with the information that I've given you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because that's why we're talking to you, because I'm like, okay, I need to know if he knows about this, and maybe he could point me in the right direction to get more information, or there's, like I said, you could pull a piece out of this story and then just talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you could write a book on Jack Ruby alone. You could write a book on Clay Shaw alone. I mean, Clay Shaw, one of the integral persons of the JFK assassination, also helped with the World Trade Mart, which later became the World Trade Center Association.
Interesting.
And that's, it was perfect because the World Trade Mart, when he was in New Orleans, he was able to watch who ordered what and where it went. Now think about that. During the time of all this gun running from the United States to Cuba, what a beautiful chess piece to place. The port of New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
So he monitored everything that went in, everything that went out, who it went to, when it went to them, so on and so on and such. And you look at, even Clay Shaw's connected to Oswald. Because Oswald, when he moved to New Orleans, he went and he saw this lawyer named Dean Andrews. Because he wanted to get his discharge changed from the Marines. And he also wanted to get his wife, Marina, he wanted to get all of her immigration stuff in order. So he went to Dean Andrews to do it. Well, the minute Lee Harvey Oswald gets arrested for the assassination of the president, Clay Bertram, a.k.a. Clay Shaw, called Dean Andrews and hired him for Lee Harvey Oswald's attorney. How did he know there was a pre-existing relationship between them? I mean, it's these small, tantalizing tidbits that make you go, wait, what? Wait a minute, what?
Hey, I just want to take a second here to remind our audience that Gordon has agreed to take phone calls. So just a friendly reminder, it's 713-701-5214. That's 713-701-5214. Do you have something over there?
Yeah, I figured after about 5 Ambien, I'll take some phone call. I'm kidding.
Well,
I'm kidding.
So I'm going to go to the extremes here, Gordon, and hope it doesn't upset or offend you, but it goes back to why would somebody want to take out Kennedy? Why? Now, the people in chat have had some really good, solid theories that, because he wanted to take on the Federal Reserve and the World Bank, and those are very plausible. It could be, but I want to talk about something that's a little bit more on the wild side, and that is one of the reasons was about disclosure.
Ooh.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
That sounds so naughty, doesn't it?
And what I mean by disclosure is he knew about UFO life, or rather alien life, and he was going to expose it, so they offed him. He told Marilyn about it, so they offed her.
Well, the thing with Jack Kennedy and the UFO connection isn't just Jack Kennedy. Bobby was in on it, too.
Well, yeah,
because they were both very, very adamant about, we have to tell people, this is so awesome. That was pretty much their attitude. And every time they turn around, they got, sideswiped by Hoover. Hoover had a serious hate for the Kennedy family.
J. Edgar Hoover?
By his own admission, he disliked every Kennedy that was in office. I mean, he opened up a file on Kennedy before Kennedy was even, in office. I mean, it's amazing to think that, in, 1947, I think it was 42, where J. Edgar Hoover opened up a file on Jack Kennedy. 1942. Kennedy didn't become president until 1960.
Were they, before that, they're somewhat of a dynastic family. I've always been told the Kennedys are as close as we have to royalty in America. Is that, maybe were they wealthy, influential before presidency?
Well, and again, it goes back to everybody's connected, because Jack and Bobby already knew J. Edgar Hoover. J. Edgar Hoover almost worked for their father, because their father was, this big, he was, pretty much essentially the, one of the Rockefellers, if you will, and he was going to hire Hoover, to become his head of security, and Hoover turned him down.
Jeez.
I mean, but I think it's interesting, going back to the fact that, Hoover opened a file on Kennedy in 42. Kennedy became president in 1960, right?
Yeah.
In 1960, Hoover opens up a file on Lee Harvey Oswald. Coincidence?
It's almost like it's almost like everything was planned out.
That's why, that's why I use the word pawns, because it's almost, a wicked chess game. Because you have all these pieces in place.
It makes me, I hate to use an X-Files reference, but it kind of makes me feel like who's the smoking man? Who's the puppeteer behind all this?
Well, I don't think there was just one. I think there was more than one puppeteer. I think that, you had representatives, because, Kennedy said in Congress, in Senate, he said he wanted to tear the CIA to shreds. He wanted to splinter it. He wanted to break it up. He saw no need for the FBI. He saw no need for the CIA. And, where does that put somebody like Hoover?
Out of business.
Exactly. And so, you have that element. You have, I just find it funny that, a majority of the people who were at the Warren, who were on the Warren Commission, ended up getting really posh benefits after the fact. Ford became president, and, granted, two of them disappeared, but, they all had one thing in common, though. Well, majority of them, excuse me. They all, majority of them signed what's known as the Southern Manifesto, which was the anti-integration bill. And so you have that coming into place where, racism is definitely a motive. You start saying, I'm going to integrate the schools, and you're upsetting the apple cart to the nth degree.
That's another possible reason. So some of this could be people upset about politics not going the way they want, and some of it could be he's going to talk about
disclosure.
The aliens,
Well, it was a matter of, what Kennedy wanted to tell the American people was completely against what Hoover did. Hoover didn't want to tell anybody anything. It was need-to-know basis. He didn't even tell the president anything by his own admission. You know, and so you have J. Edgar Hoover, who's the king of secrets, going against someone who doesn't want any secrets.
Right.
And so that is going to be problematic, especially when it comes to something as ginormous as life on other planets coming to visit us. I mean, you know, they could barely, you know, and in this instance, I kind of have to side with Hoover, because at that time Americans could barely, you know, handle the fact that, you know, blacks and whites were going to the same school and they weren't being separated.
We definitely weren't mature enough to handle another life form.
If they couldn't handle that, how do you think they're going to handle UFOs? You know, they're going to lose their minds.
So, I mean, did Alan Dulles have a role in this, or is this the wrong time period?
No, he did. Alan Welsh Dulles was a member of the Warren Commission.
Right. Okay.
And you know, he was one of the guys who was actually not, you know, not on board with everybody else. I mean, you know, he was the former director of the CIA, and Kennedy fired him. So obviously he didn't like Kennedy. I mean, you know, we're talking about a man who, you know, molded the CIA into what we know it as today. And Kennedy fired him. Why are you going to put someone's enemy on an investigative team about, you know, their own death?
So the whole Warren Commission seems like a joke to me.
The Warren Commission was a joke and a half. I mean, it was, you know, Arlen Specter, who was he was a assistant counsel on the Warren Commission. He is the father of the magic bullet theory.
Okay.
Which, you know, I mean, magic bullet theory is really slang. It's actually called the single bullet theory. But all of that mismatched science is his. That's his baby. In order to explain one bullet doing all that damage, because they didn't want to acknowledge how many gunshots there actually were.
Okay, so they think we're ignorant and stupid, like there are no people on the earth who are physicists that can say, no, that can't happen.
Well, they went on what's called theoretical physics. And point of fact, like gravity is part and parcel to theoretical physics, because gravity has not been proven yet. Believe it or not, the theory of gravity is still just that, a theory. And so the single bullet theory, the magic bullet theory, is part and parcel to that. Theoretical physics will get you anything. And so, I mean, you know, in order to explain away, he had to use one bullet, one gunshot for tons of damage.
It's still,
and you're saying,
what, do they got rubber bones? I mean, just, it doesn't make any sense.
That reminds me of this girl I went out with in college. Oh, never mind. Well, I mean, I'd like to talk more about the magic bullet theory, but you have to buy the book, because it's its own beast, and there's no way I could do it justice, you know, just by talking, you know.
It's its own book topic, pretty much. I mean,
because there's charts and there's graphs and there's, you know, stuff. I mean, not in my book, but, you know, I'm sure they're out there. But, you know, it's just, in order to explain the actual theory, and I'm not trying to be cute about it, you know, you really have to read about its path and what it did and how it did it and blah, 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 because if I explained it, it would not do it justice.
I don't know. I read it. I read what you wrote, and I still don't buy it.
Yeah, I don't buy it either. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I don't believe the single bullet theory for 1 second. Because, you know, the one thing that they don't talk about, that I've never heard talked about, is the fourth bullet. Because there's 3 shots that were supposedly fired. Mm-hmm. 1 missed. 1 was the magic bullet. Mm-hmm. The third hit Kennedy in the head. But there's a 4th one. Because in his gun, the assassin's gun, I'm not going to say Oswald's gun because we really don't know, mm-hmm. there was another shell. Now, whether it was spent or not is what is up for debate. I read 4 reports that said it had been spent, and it was a spent shell. Then I read 4 that said it was not spent. So it's kind of debatable whether it was a used shot or not.
Yeah, this whole thing is fraught with discrepancies and just questionable practices and committee members of the president's worst enemies. And
what's interesting is once you go from what we're talking about tonight, and then we actually go into the actual shooting, then there's a whole new can of worms there. I mean, like
exactly.
For example, like could Oswald had fired 3 shots that quickly at a moving target? That's something that has come up. You have the subject where there's supposedly the man in the grassy knoll, and then you have the more fantastic, and my favorite, the babushka lady, the lady that was nicknamed for the unknown woman that was present during 1963 assassination of JFK, who might have filmed the actual event. And to this day, those pictures or film has not come up or, come surface.
Well, and there's, like I said, there's a handful of things I left out on purpose. Mm-hmm. I didn't talk about all the clean-cut homeless men. I didn't talk about, babushka lady. I didn't talk about the man in the grassy knoll who's called Umbrella Man. And so I left that out on purpose. For 2 reasons. One...
Okay, go ahead, talk.
Oh,
go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, one reason is, I want my readers to come to their own conclusions. And secondly, I want to leave room to make a second book because,
Oh.
I'm kidding about the second part. I mean, I want my readers to come and find their own truth. And so it's a matter of, here's the information that's need to know that is, the blatant, obvious information.
Well, you did.
And that's what I try to present.
You did mention something, and I don't think you elaborated on it, and maybe I just didn't read it correctly, but what is this stuff about misplacing the brain?
Yeah, nobody knows where Kennedy's brain is.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Kennedy's brain is missing in action from the Library of Congress.
It's not with his body?
Well, his brain, according to, it depends on who you believe, really. At Parkland Hospital, his brain apparently just, fell out of his head. And... I know.
It's a good time to go to break then. We'll come back to that, okay? Oh, dear, let me process that for a while.
Yeah, we're about to go into break again, Gordon. I'd hate for you to go down a tangent. But, when we come back a little bit later here, maybe we could get final thoughts with you on that and maybe talk about something a little bit more uplifting and more fun.
I had to know.
Yeah, you went there, didn't you? You went there, so...
If you don't want the answer, don't ask the question.
I know.
So, with that said, let's go ahead and take this next break that's coming up right here. And you're listening to Spaceboy Universe with Gordon Rupe tonight. Isn't it a fabulous guest tonight? Yes, he is.
Yes, he is. Awesome.
You're tuned into 1100 Independent Talk Radio. That's independent. That's 1100 KFNX Independent Talk, Cave Creek, Phoenix. I'll get it someday. We'll be right back. Hey, Space Cadets. Want to show your love for the universe? Get your official SBU t-shirt now. Just click the banner on the homepage. Other products are available too. Get yours today.
Hello, Space Cadets. This is Surlana, and I realize you are busy and can't always be there for our live show. Fortunately, our shows are available on demand on Spreaker, YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and TuneIn. Just search for Spaceboy Universe.
This is author Gordon Rupe. You are listening to the Spaceboy Universe.
This is K28, and I'm listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Hi, y'all. This is Lori calling from Texas, and I love listening to Spaceboy Universe. Rock on, Spaceboy.
Hey there, this is Wendy. I'm listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Hey, this is Elisha, and you're listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Hey, y'all. This is Lorelai Jalil. I listen to Spaceboy Universe. Don't you? Tell your mom and them I said hi.
The epic battle begins this Friday. Direct from ringside at Laser Death Melt. It's Bot versus Bot in Galaxy's 2-ton weight championship, where your challenger, Good Bot, will face the reigning champion, Bad Bot.
You're terminated.
Reserve seating starting at $30. 2-drink minimum, where ladies don't get in free. This is an SBU production.
You're listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Hey, Surlana.
Yeah, Spaceboy?
A lot of people have been asking about t-shirts from the universe.
They have?
Yeah, in fact, they've been, seeing these things pop up here and there, and they've been wondering where to get them.
Well, all you have to do is go to spaceboyuniverse.com, and there is a banner ad right there you can click on, take you right to the store so you can grab a t-shirt for yourself.
Is it just t-shirts?
Well, no, there's more than just t-shirts. You can take a piece of the universe with you on many different kinds of products.
Sounds cool. Go to spaceboyuniverse.com. Hey, Surlana!
What?
If Spaceboy Universe was cheese, would you eat it? Come on now, it's a simple question.
Maybe?
Spaceboyuniverse.com. Techno, dance, atmospheric moods? Yes, my friends. My latest release, Digital, has something for everyone. Even makes a great gift for Grandma. Buy your digital download at spaceboymusic.com. Hey, Surlana.
Yeah, Spaceboy?
I've been getting a few calls lately about people that are just not able to catch the live show, and they're wondering about the on-demand show for Spaceboy Universe.
Indeed there is. You can catch our archives on our YouTube channel and on SoundCloud. We're also on a variety of other platforms such as Spreaker, TuneIn, and Stitcher.
Well, that sounds cool.
It is. So check out our archives on any of these websites.
And you can definitely get to these links by going to spaceboyuniverse.com.
To call in, dial area code 713-701-5214. You are listening to Spaceboy Universe. Here are your hosts, Spaceboy and Surlana.
Indeed, we're back. 713-701-5214. 713-701-5214 is the number to call in. Please make Gordon happy by calling in. He would love to have a phone call from you. So that's 713.
Doesn't anyone want to talk to me?
But if not, we've got him for the rest of the program that we have left here. So we're going to go into some final thoughts.
So, Gordon, they're going to release some info about all this, apparently, in so many years. Is it going to have all the answers, or?
I don't think we're ever going to have all the answers. I mean, because, look at Lee Harvey Oswald's military records. Mm-hmm. They all disappeared. I mean, you look at, when he was interviewed for, close to 12 hours by an FBI agent. No notes, no tape recordings, nothing. I mean, if you're interviewing someone who assassinated the president, wouldn't you want to keep just a couple notes? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, so that has suspicion written all over it. I mean, no pun intended, but, I mean, it does. I mean, we're never going to know the true story. We're never going to know the full
and
story.
Throw it out the door when it comes to this subject matter.
Yeah, well, it's throw everything to the wall, see what sticks, and then, make your connections. And hopefully that's what I've presented in my book is, a way for people to make their own conclusions. I mean, I flat out, just detest these people who were like, convinced it was just this one, faction, this one person, and you need to look, you need to check it out, because, it's just when you think what's going on, you don't.
So is the Zapruder film the thing they watched to try to get what happened?
Well, yes and no, because they did, again, Jim Garrison, he subpoenaed the film from Time Life. Time Life bought the film from Abe Zapruder. Yeah.
It's a mouthful.
They bought it from him, and he subpoenaed it from Time Life. But in between Time Life and his subpoena, guess who got a hold of it? Yeah. I'll give you a hint. His name rhymes with Hoover.
Hoover.
And so and Jim Garrison, in his book, On the Trail of the Assassins, talks about it in great detail. It's a brilliant book. I highly recommend it. And he talks about getting the edited version. When he subpoenaed it, he didn't even get the full version. It was intercepted by the government, edited, and given back to him. So, knowing the truth, whether it's, legal or not, is kind of ridiculous. Because a lot of authors, go, they say, well, in frame 260, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, yeah, but that's the edited version. So it's not even truly, frame number 261 could actually be frame number 231, in an edited version.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
I've
got a lot to learn about this subject.
That's okay, Grasshopper.
And that's why I did Amelia Earhart last weekend, because I had
which was a brilliant show, by the way.
Oh, thank
yeah, it was
you.
just us.
I'm from Oakland, and I didn't even know there was an Amelia Earhart connection. So when I found that out, I was just dumbfounded. But yeah, that was a very excellent show.
That's where she got the bug to fly, and then she flew from there twice, trying to go around the world.
I had a bug in Oakland once, but a little lotion cleared it right up. So this is comedy gold, people. Come on.
Up his clapping or whatever?
Well, I guess I could have.
You need a rim shot wave file.
Yeah, we do. Did anybody in the chat room have any questions, or was there any, since nobody's calling in, nobody loves me.
Well, you already answered. You don't think we'll ever know because they're going to keep this under wraps, even though they're going to, bring out these papers.
Well, I don't think we'll ever know who's behind it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we might actually find out who the actual assassin was, but I don't think we'll ever find out who was behind it.
It just seems extreme to assassinate a president because you don't like what he's going to do.
Well, so many people have, I mentioned, I don't go into too great a detail about it, but a lot of people, have the inclination that Johnson was involved.
Yeah.
There's a lot of belief that LBJ was involved in that whole thing, too.
Mm.
Well, a half hour before the parade, he decides he's not going to ride in the same car with JFK.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Huh, what a coincidence. Senator Connolly, in his testimony for the Warren Commission, said he heard more than 2 shots, and he's a distinguished war veteran, and he said, I know exactly where those shots were coming from.
So, Gordon, if I was wanting to get your book, where could I purchase said book of Web of Pawns?
I am so glad you asked. I am on Amazon, and all you have to do is you can go to Amazon and search my name. You can go to my Facebook, which is, of course, Gordon Rupe. You can go to my Twitter, which is @Gordon Rupe. Amazon.com/author/Gordon Rupe. And that has all my books, including Conspiracy Evolution, Conspiracy Evolution Deluxe, of course, my JFK book, and everything else I've written.
Awesome.
And the books start at $1, people. $1.
You can't beat that with a stick. I'd buy that for $1.
I'd buy that for $1. See, nobody gets the Amazon Women on the Moon reference. Ever.
Oh, I thought it was from RoboCop.
Well, technically, okay.
The first RoboCop.
Okay, we're not going to get into this debate right now.
But with that said, I was going to say, let's shift gears. You know, we've given everybody a full course meal of JFK and talked about your publication and everything. Let's change gears by talking about something fun.
Well, I was just going to know, are you going to write another book about anything?
About what?
Anything? Do you have in mind to write another book?
Well, I have a bug. I have a bug in my ear to start writing a book about Jonestown.
Oh, really?
That would be pretty.
I need to learn about that too, Gordon.
That is something that obviously, if you write it, we'll get you on the show and we can talk about that.
I appreciate. Well,
that is a fascinating story.
Well, Jonestown, is a Bay Area thing, and I'm a Bay Area boy, and when I was younger, everybody kind of knew what it was, and now I talk to people and they're like, "What's Jonestown?" And as you pointed out, it's like everyone knows what the comment "Don't drink the Kool-Aid" is, but they just don't know where it's from.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mass suicide in a cult in Jonestown, Africa.
Mm-hmm. No.
Yeah.
It was in. No, it wasn't in Africa. It was down in
South America.
South America.
Guyana.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was thinking something with an A.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I got the vowel part right.
But yeah, that sounds like a great topic. So let us know when you get done with that, and we'll definitely get you back on the show, and we'll talk a little bit of Jonestown action there.
Excellent. Yeah, I wanted to comment on the Ghostbusters trailer.
Yes, please do. Yes.
Lord knows that's
been
important.
Bugging me the whole show. Well, no, because they make Kate McClinton. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce her last name. They make her.
She is from Saturday Night Live. I believe she does imitations of Justin Bieber. Ellen. She's done Hillary
Clinton.
Yeah. So, but yeah, go ahead, continue.
But they make her look like the Egon from the real Ghostbusters cartoon, which I think is brilliant. But I think she's going to be the only reason I see that, because the Amazon woman who's in it just is not funny at all. And I'm tired of the whole what's her name, McCarthy? Melissa McCarthy. She plays the same character in every movie. I'm just so over it. I mean, she's the same person, and it's just kind of like if her character was more like Molly from Mike and Molly, I'd be open to that.
That was a good show.
Yes.
Okay, I got that off my chest. We're good. Okay.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, it does to me after I saw that trailer. It has some similarities of Men in Black with the ghost and everything and the effects that they did. But
what about Men in Black with women? Women in Black.
Well, okay. Speaking of Men in Black, you heard what they're thinking about doing. They're doing a crossover.
No.
The 21 Jump Street revamp that they did.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
They're using.
I read about that.
Oh my God, Sony, please don't.
Yeah, I threw up in my mouth a little bit. Yeah.
Apparently, there's going to be some kind of crossover, and they're going to be the new Men in Black, and I don't know if this is a joke or not.
I don't know what this is about.
Sony, I am not laughing at all.
What are you talking about?
Well, it's God, I can't even think of it's Gordon. Help me out here. Do you remember
what are we looking for? What?
Who are the characters in the new 21 Jump Street? Anybody out there that's listening?
So you're saying there's a crossover between that, the reboot of that, and Men in Black?
Yeah, those characters.
Yeah, the reboot from the 21 Jump Street, which I avoided like at all costs, with the Men in Black cast. I'm guessing it's going to be Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith.
If that.
And so Tommy Lee Jones, Will Smith, Channing Tatum, and Jonah Hill.
Yeah, that's it. Jonah Hill.
And so
John Hitler?
I said John Hill. I didn't say Hitler. I did not say Hitler. I'm not at a Trump rally. Oh, whoops.
You've got to be careful when you're around Surlana because
that was great.
There's nothing worse to say E.T., the extraterrestrial.
Please don't.
And be mistaken for something else. But I digress. But yeah, so I think this Sony thing is going in the wrong direction with this Men in Black thing, and I really hope that they don't even go there because I won't go see it. I would prefer that the Men in Black just be rebooted completely with new characters versus bringing some poorly written show from was it the late 80s, 21 Jump Street? I mean, it came out when I was in junior high, so that was like 88. Yeah, so late 80s. I enjoyed 21 Jump Street when it came out. In fact, you had a lot of actors come out, especially like Johnny Depp out of that show. But the thing is that I'm not buying it, people. I'm not going to spend my money on that.
They're also talking about, since we're talking about reboots, the thing that my wife is really jazzed about is a Charmed reboot.
Okay.
And I think that's just, I mean, I could see it as a TV movie, but not a full reboot.
What do you? Were you ever into the show The Tick?
Oh, I like the cartoon better than the live action one.
Well, they're doing a live action, as I mentioned earlier in the beginning of the program, that Amazon is picking up a season for The Tick, and they're going to reboot it. So it'll be interesting to see what they do for this reboot.
Nah, no. I'm just for me, it's the cartoon all the way. We're Tick. It's Tick versus a cold. Arthur, need chicken soup. And he's like, he's like the biggest baby on the planet.
Now,
and
as I mentioned at the bottom of the hour here, coming back in from our break, you're on the fence with the new Spider-Man outfit?
It looks like the Spider-Man from like the 1970s Japan TV show. It looks horrible. I've got my footsies that look better than that.
Okay, what? You didn't think it was cool when he was able to blink and all that cool stuff?
Well, I mean, first of all, since the Avengers are trying to make it a more realistic universe, yeah?
Yeah.
What is the realistic application of him being able to blink while wearing a mask?
The cool factor?
I said realistic, Spaceboy. Realistic.
I think they've been influenced by Deadpool.
Well, because he does have a Deadpool look to him when he's with his eyes and everything. I know that let's go back. Tobey Maguire's outfit, even I can't even think of the other guy's outfit, the more recent Spider-Man that's played him. The outfit was updated and looked very cool, very sleek. I don't know. I like this little retro look to Spider-Man's outfit. Of course, now I'm sure it'll play out more when Sony does their, bring Spider-Man out for another 3 to 4 episodes of whatever show.
How can you milk this much out of Spider-Man? How are they getting so many movies?
People like Spider-Man.
Well, I mean, I think Andrew Garfield was a lot better than Tobey Maguire. I think he nailed the personality. He nailed the he had it down. The smart alecky, cocky attitude.
Tobey Maguire seems to me like a young old man.
It's like the Curious Case of Benjamin Button. But with this new kid, I don't know too much about this new kid, so we're going to have to see how he does. I'm jazzed about the movie. I am not excited about Batman versus Superman.
I will not go see that.
I'm still on. I'm on the fence on it. I know where you're coming from. I think that if there was ever going to be a Batman versus Superman and the Justice League, I think we've been holding out way too long for Justice League, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, Aquaman, really? I mean, how is that? I'm going to make a tuna fish sandwich. Wah, 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 wah. I mean,
I would pay to see that.
How is that a superpower? I mean, I could make a jellyfish dance. Wow.
So can
you
SpongeBob.
Must be good at parties. Yeah. It's, well, I mean, there's that. There's, the Suicide Squad in August, which I'm not looking forward to.
I don't even know what that is.
I mean, it's pretty much.
I can understand the whole movie as a general, but the guy that's playing the Joker, Leto, is it? L-E-T-O?
Yeah, Jared Leto.
Leto. He really gives the Joker a new, fresh look altogether. I mean,
agreed.
It's very powerful. I mean, for that alone, I'd be curious to go see the movie. I mean, but beyond that, I'm going to be honest. I'm kind of tired of Will Smith. I'm ready to move beyond that. And
And Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, really?
Right.
I mean, I don't see it. I really don't. For the sheer fact of, just.
I don't care about it at all, so I won't see it.
She's glazed over here.
She's like, okay, I'm tuning out. I'm going back to
I've
playing Scrabble.
I've already seen the one movie I wanted to see for the year, and everything else I'm like,
What movie? Oh, the Deadpool one?
Deadpool.
Yeah, I was I was very surprised. I mean, it was a good movie, and I'm happy for Ryan Reynolds because he feels, I feel like he's been vindicated, and he really pushed hard to get this.
He's put the Green Lantern behind him now.
Yeah, he's put the Green Lantern behind him. Yes.
Well, they're doing another Green Lantern Corps.
Exactly.
And that's set to come out in 2020.
Right.
And so we'll see about that.
What it is DC is trying. They've seen what Marvel has done and proved that it could be done. However, I think there's a little part of me that says it's kind of almost a little too late, and they're trying to milk into this system that Marvel has set up, and I don't think it's going to end well for DC because I just think it's a little too late. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the best thing about Green Lantern was Mark Strong as Sinestro.
Oh yeah, he was awesome.
Because he rocked it. He was, no offense to Ryan Reynolds, he's a great actor and all, but Mark Strong owned it.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the whole problem with DC is they can't get actors of that caliber on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. Every time I turn around, there's a new Batman. I mean, there's been Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, George Clooney.
Mm-hmm.
My kid doesn't eat candy that fast.
First off, now that you brought Batman, I'm kind of curious. I mean, despite what we've been talking about, who is your favorite Batman?
My favorite Batman incarnation or favorite Batman on the movie? Or
it could be from
anything.
The television series, the movies, anything. Who's your
favorite Batman? Let's see. Wow. I liked Christian Bale, although I thought he kind of overplayed it. But my hands down and forever, it's Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman from the animated series.
That's a good choice.
He just. What's that?
I said that's a good choice. That actually, he's my runner-up. I mean, when it comes to animation, I think of him as Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know
him as Batman. Tim Daly is Superman. I mean, you know.
I know I'm going to disappoint you by telling you my favorite Batman was Michael Keaton.
But see, he'd be my runner-up. See, so that's not really a disappointment. I mean, I thought, because everyone said, "Oh, he's a comedy actor; he can't do it," and he owned it. You know,
and you know
he made it.
What's funny is we've got somebody in chat that's Kat saying Batman isn't a superhero; he's just a billionaire with cool stuff.
You want to know my favorite Batman?
Oh no, who?
I don't care.
Oh, come on. She says that. You know what's funny is that she's wearing a Deadpool jacket on right now.
Yeah, see, I mean, but you know, if Batman isn't a superhero and he's just a billionaire with cool stuff, then Tony Stark, a.k.a. Iron Man, isn't a superhero.
Yeah.
He's just a billionaire with cool stuff. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
And Hawkeye's just a guy who can shoot an arrow nice.
Right.
Okay. Well, I mean, you know, it's, you know, you have the counterparts. You know, you have the DC Marvel counterparts. Mm-hmm. Tony Stark, Bruce Wayne, Hawkeye, Green Arrow. I mean, you know, you can go back and forth all night with it. It's just a matter of how you present the character, how you write the character. I mean, I think they did, you know, the reason that Marvel is so good is because they have, you know, their writing staff is a lot better than those over at DC.
Yeah, I think that's
the ones who write the movies for DC just kind of, you know, the only reason Batman was a success was because Christopher Nolan wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't let the DC people elbow their way in and take over the project.
And it shows. That, you know, Nolan's attempt at doing the Batman thing, awesome. I have to say it was well written, well scripted. You know, you can't bash him for anything because he did an excellent job for that.
Yeah, no, indeed. I mean, it's just a matter of, you know, how you present the character, and you know, I mean, look at how they presented, you know, Green Lantern versus how Marvel presented, you know, Iron Man, or how they presented Thor. The characters were well developed; they were well written. You know, it was a matter of the characters in Green Lantern weren't developed. They had next to no excellent story. You know.
You liked Thor, didn't you, Surlana?
He's all right to look at.
Well, see, there's a little eye candy action.
Honestly, my favorite part about the Thor movies is Kat Denning. I like her. She's funnier. She's a scene stealer.
I do like her, too. Hubba hubba.
In the way that I like Colin Firth.
Yeah.
I don't like the Thor movies. I wish they would do a Hulk movie, but Mark Ruffalo's
says it's not going to happen.
Totally against it. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, he's like, well, I'm too old for it, you know. It's like, well, you should have thought about that before you took the part,
right.
You know. I mean, because before...
He's going to be in the next Thor movie. Yeah, so...
And he's gone off, and he's now like a lone wolf Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're thinking, a lot of people have the theory that it's going to lead into a storyline that's called Planet Hulk, where he goes from Thor's dimension or land or whatever you want to call it, and then finds a planet that's, you know, where they view him as a god.
Well, Gordon,
where Hulk is a god. So,
Gordon, we're almost to the end of the program, and I wanted to thank you for coming on tonight.
I wanted to thank you for having me.
And
letting me grill you.
Yes, grilling. But so, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Gordon, and I guess we're going to roll some credits. But Gordon, you stay right there. Stay calm. We'll come right back to you in just a second while I roll these credits and get us on out of here. So,
okie dokie.
Make sure you buy his book.
Yes, buy his book. So this
Amazon.com, baby.
This has been Spaceboy Universe. Everybody have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next week, right here on Spaceboy Universe.
Spaceboy Universe is hosted by Spaceboy and Surlana. Executive producer is Surlana. Producer credit goes out to Dennis Koch. Find Spaceboy at spaceboymusic.com and spaceboyuniverse.com. This has been a Spaceboy Universe production. You have reached your final destination. Good night, Space Cadets.